are imported. In fact, we can almost move to about 90 now because even the diesel is imported. So we run on diesel. Our running cost is extremely high. The income of the people that we are selling to is stagnant. So my question would be, how do we balance out? A lot of businesses are going down. Trust me, because the next thing some people will tell them is, I've not eaten, you want me to wear clothes. But I'm always of this opinion. There are secrets. There are psychological connect you have with your business, with your customers, that will make you to navigate through all of this. The reason is this. At every point in time, sir, I realize that when someone is complaining about making 10,000, somebody is making 10 million. So, sir, how do we navigate through all of this to take our income from 10,000 in these struggling times to, let's be too ambitious, even if it's from 10,000 to 100,000, from 100,000 to 1 million. If you could put us through a little bit of clarity to that, sir.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. It's good to be here again. I'm a proxy member of the Bridge Network. Is this question for me or for the guys in the US?
Okay, so I mean, it is for you now.
Okay. As a business, there are three ways we make money. I'm talking from the finance perspective, but I've also done quasi-business in some shape or form. And what are these three ways you make money? Number one, or you make profit. I'm focused on profit, not just making money. The one you have control over is by cutting expenses. That's one way. The second way is by expanding your sales or growing your turnover or doing a lot more. And then, of course, the third way, which is, if you can, which is the most sensible of the three options you have, is to do both. Cut expenses, grow your business. The growing your business is not really within your control because there are a number of factors associated with growing your business. There's competition, there's innovation, there's all of that. But the one that is really within our control is the growing expense, is the cutting your expense part of it. The Nigeria of today, where we found ourselves, look, no matter where you are, if we don't learn how to cut expenses now, we're all going to struggle. As a matter of fact, the difference between survival and getting to the next level, I believe, is how we watch our expenses, because that's within our control. And I'll give you a very simple example. Even the so-called multinationals, for some reason, they saw it way before we saw it. I will use the telcos, the three major telcos, MTN and Airtel, and Glo wasn't part of it. You know that before now, those guys used to run their own, what's that thing called, that tower, mast. They used to own those things by themselves. And then they suddenly realized that, wait, it's a distraction for me. My business is to provide telco services. Even though they need those mast thing to power their businesses, but it was a lot of distraction. To get those masts, they have to go and settle people, you have to get generator in those places and all of that. So they exited to focus on their businesses, and then they outsourced those things to a few companies, two major companies, ATC and IHS. What was ATC? No, it's American Tower Company, and then IHS. Before now, what were those guys doing? Every telco was having their own mast. It didn't make any sense. So when these other guys took over, because they've done it globally, they just said, why can't we co-locate? Co-location means a single mast. All the telcos can have their, whatever they call that thing, on that single mast. It just helped them cut cost. Two things were achieved. So the major telcos removed the distraction of running whatever it is they were running and outsourced it to somebody else. But the guys that they outsourced it with, instead of them putting on masts all over the place, single mast, put all your telco thing there as long as we get the services that we need to get. And what happened? They began to cut their expenses and cut their cost without necessarily affecting their services. And then these guys were able to now focus. The telcos now were able to focus on innovation and then expanding their business. And that happened like it's like these guys had spyglass to see the future. It happened 5-10 years back. And they are benefiting from it. Because there are other issues they need to deal with. So coming to us smaller businesses, what kind of cost can I cut? And when people hear, especially you business folks, I mean us business folks, when we hear cost cutting, the first thing that comes to your head is sacking people. That's not necessarily cost cutting. There are a lot of things you can do to cut cost without really sacking folks. So what can you do? You mentioned diesel. People are going solar. Why are we not thinking of going solar now? If you haven't done solar now as a business person, please, it's something you really need to consider. Capital outlay as initial investment will be high, yes, but the gains at the end of the day, over a longer period of time, is going to be an advantage for you. That is one. Secondly, the other thing people are beginning to do is also collaborate. You're a fashion designer, you're a fashion businessman. The other fashion businesses, you guys import. What can we do together to import in bulk and cut our cost? Because it's the same customer you're going to pay. So if you import a container, even if the container is not full, the customer will collect their custom duty. The other guy, they'll collect their custom duty. Why don't we come together, collaborate, and then import, and you have one container, and then we split the bill? So I think it's time for all of us to begin to think out of the box. We're not in normal times. That's the reality. As a matter of fact, even Pastor did it this morning. We went for some watch night service on Friday, and one of the guys that was talking, everybody that got the microphone, I'm beginning to find it very, very interesting and funny. The first thing everybody says is, in spite of what's going on in Nigeria, let's go. That means something is going on in Nigeria. But that's the reality. We need to quickly move on from there. We're going to talk about this in second service. You don't have control over what Nigeria is doing to you because of the decisions that people we voted for have taken. We can't do anything about that. But I have control over how I react to those things that are happening to me. Final word on this one. Simple example. This 2024, when the new central bank folks came in, the first 6 months of Mr. Cardoso becoming central bank governor, these guys released, we were counting, 46 circulars in 6 months. 46 circulars to the banks. Of course, outside the banks, you guys will know what's going on. Your own ATM is not working. POS people are but in the industry, these guys in the first 6 months released 46 circulars. Before then, maybe in the period of 3-4 years, they probably released 9-10. But in 6 months, 46. It says a lot. But I also speak to what he says as we continue the conversation. What he says to me or to us then was, look, these guys were throwing everything to find a UJ, and we don't have control over that. You also won't blame them. I mean, the man can't just come in and fold his hand. He has to do something, But the things that were done had very long-term impact that is affecting all of us as a collective. So, speaking to your question, I hope I addressed it with the opening remarks. Cut cost, grow your business, but the most optimal of it is doing both. And for that to happen, there has to be collaboration, you have to be innovative, and then you also have to begin to think like a business person. What do I mean? What's your role as a businessman? Is to think of how to grow your business. So the mundane things, please outsource, let other people do it. The way I think in my office, even though I'm not the CEO, but the way I'm beginning to think is anything is a younger person in my unit can do, I pass it on to them. I'm not threatened by this person knowing as a matter of fact, if this person knows as much as I do, it means that I need to get to the next level. They need to find me something else to do. So maybe as a CEO, it's also what you need to begin to think about, the small things. Let your younger people do, so you can begin to think of, how do I collaborate with other people? How do I become strategic? How do I even expand my business out of here? Because again, diversification. Even though we're struggling in Nigeria, I would say you can do more business and easier business and cheaper business out of Ghana or out of Cotonou. Thank you.
Thank you. Please put your hands together for Mr. Akarah. And that was really spot on, sir. That was spot on. First is to cut cost. Cutting cost, truth be told, necessarily does not mean sacking staffs. So I think, to reiterate what is said, cutting cost actually means thinking out of the box. Yeah, that is what I heard. Cutting cost actually means thinking out of the box. See, I think one of the major problems we have as CEOs is we are so concerned about the profit margin. We want to make money. And the concern is, this month we didn't make money. That month we made a loss. We don't intricately think about what was the cost. Why didn't we make money? Why did we have a loss? So thinking out of the box will actually make us to take out some things. And the second part to it, which was very fantastic for me, was the collaboration part. It is the part that a lot of businesses in Nigeria are not doing very well yet. A lot of us has this mentality of, I own. I'm the CEO, I'm the MD. And truly, that doesn't put money on your table. That is not what changes or increases your ROI. You see, either you are the CEO or you are the MD or you are the production manager. I tell people, I tell my staffs, and they know, you don't come into my office and call me MD. It sounds strange to me. Because my strength in my system is actually the designing part. So if you look at my CV, what you will likely see is most times you see my name and you see the creative director. Who the MD is, I don't know. I know salaries are being paid. So I think another thing that we need to focus on is, what is your strength as the CEO or as the owner of the business? It doesn't mean that you just sit there in one AC place and they're blowing you and somebody's bringing coffee and you're laughing and somebody calls you on the telecom and says that they want to see you and said, I'm not available. So our mentality and approach has to change. Any questions from the audience, please? We need to be quick.
We could build on follow-up questions to some of the things he spoke about, especially that area of collaboration. I think we need to ask a little more in-depth questions. Let's dig that. Can the keyboardist? Where is the keyboardist? He has traveled.
So, any question on the collaboration thing? Do you have anything you've been thinking about?
Or ideas? I think we should toss some ideas. Yeah, give him the mic. I want to ask him. Yes, yeah.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I like the part of collaboration. I believe in it. People around me believe we should. I'm into IT. But my friends see it as competition. So how do you handle that? Now I'm coming to you as to collaborate, but you see me as, this guy wants to cooperate with me. I'm not interested. So how do you handle it?
A few days ago, I saw a video. Elon Musk, and then Elon Musk says, okay, come and work for me. Says, I'm retired. I want to spend time with my children. He says, no, please come and help me. I need to sell electric cars. You know what he said? The very first thing he said, how would you approach it? Elon Musk asked the man, how would you approach it? The man said exactly what we did with iPhones. We educate people. You see, we're trying to ask people to do something that they're not educated about. And that's where we have our greatest barriers. People, we started membership things here. We try to explain to people that if you pay 5,000 naira a month, you and your wife or your girlfriend, you can come and swim as many times as you like in a month, as opposed to paying 1,500 every time you come to swim. And they don't understand it. It's foreign to people. So we found out that without an education campaign, am I making sense? You know what I mean? People don't know. You have to show them what the benefits are because they've also been educated wrongly. I don't know if you know, all their lives, they've seen people. How many of you growing up said, you women were told that men are bad? How many men here also were told Obiri is bad? Come on, it's education. It may be formal or informal. The first thing we have to start doing is education. And that's why one of the biggest things that happens in churches every Sunday is education. And we are the only organization that constantly educates people. You know what I mean? Most other organizations don't. Have you ever gone to a union meeting where they educate you? Even school, they don't even educate you anymore. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying to you that that's our biggest problem. An idea is not a bad idea. It's only bad when people don't know the benefit of those ideas.
Thank you so much, Pastor. A round of applause for Pastor. And I think to a large extent, it's a step close to your question. It might not necessarily answer your question in total because I think you're looking at why are these people not ready to collaborate? But on a flip, I think it answers the question because they are not educated. They don't know the positive effect of collaboration. And it's something that's, like Pastor said, we need to really dig deep into. It is a bit new to our system. Collaborations are a bit new to our system. But the point again is this: is it effective? Answer is yes, because the guest speaker just gave us a fantastic example about the telcos, right? Sincerely, we general people, when we see those masts, what comes to our mind is this one is for MTN. What comes to our mind is this one is for Airtel. But now I realize that a mast can be for MTN, Airtel, and Etisalat. And that would drastically, because it's going to be the same diesel that will power the whole system. And we can share the running cost, which will have a turnaround effect on our income. So I think one major thing that we really need, it might end up being a deliverance thing for us to understand what are the present strategies. One strategy I've taken this morning is collaboration. We need to think about it. We need to read about it. We need to really, really get ourselves liberated from this I own mindset. From this it's all mine mindset. And it's killing us. Businesses are crashing. So please, let us start putting this at the back of our mind. Even we that we are listening now, I will say by myself, I don't know so much about collaboration. But with what I've heard this morning, I'm going to go deep about it. How can I collaborate? He made mention of something really, really spot on about we import products. You know, I mean, truth be told, one of the major things that make prices go up these days is what we're being charged when the goods come in. And that is never fixed. It's crazy. You get there today, it is another amount. By next month, when you get there, they tell you another thing. But sincerely, if we have like 5 people bringing in this, maybe half a container, and they charge you, and they even by the time the prices change to clear your goods, by the time it changes, the effect and the extra that is coming to you, it won't be so much for you to bear. So some of these things, I just believe that, and like Pastor rightly said, it is the reason why we are here. Trust me, it's more of education than the spiritual church falling down under anointing. And really, I come to realize that what we are talking about now is light. What we're experiencing that is not making us to advance in business is darkness. When you don't have knowledge, it is likened to darkness. When you have knowledge, it is likened to light. So let the light so shine. When the light is shone on every situation in your business, you will make more money. Thank you, Mr. Conley.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, I want to ask a direct question, like an expert, because bank is like working in a bank, especially at the top level. You have some, I want to call it like insider information. It's like a company who wants to maybe sell their shares next week. If I'm in that company, I have some insider information on some things to do to make money with that. So banks, you are able to see companies that do well because they
Glory, shut that door and come out through on the main side.
Right? Or what industry is actually borrowing money now and doing well. So I think it will also help us this morning. If you can give us an idea with the current market climate, what are the industries that you feel we cannot see directly because we can see a lot of noise, doesn't mean they're doing well. Are the industries or companies that you feel right now are doing well that people can also go into and probably do well like now also?
Interesting question. Thank you very much. Quick caveat though, we don't do insider information, especially with the kind of place I work in. As a matter of fact, towards a certain period of the year, I think 3 months to the end of the year for a stand chart, you can't, as a staff, you can't trade in the company's stocks anymore. It's something called a closed period. It's just decency. I don't know why Nigerian people don't do that. I'm thinking of the best way to answer your question. Okay, let me attack your question from a different angle. What company will I like to invest in despite the current economic climate? Let's borrow from what happened in the US in the 30s or in the 40s. Who remembers the Californian gold rush? When they suddenly discovered gold in California and every businessman was chasing, prospecting or extracting. They called it the Californian gold rush. Everybody became an expert in California. So you see guys moving from IT to become gold prospector, moving from manufacturing to become gold prospector. So what happened? At the end of the day, there was a glut because everybody was doing the same thing. However, there was something common to all of them because it was raw prospecting. I mean, it wasn't tech. For you to go and extract gold or for you to go and find gold, you will need a shovel or a digger. So either MTN is the same shovel or digger. I'm using MTN as an example, but there was no MTN in California. Either Airtel, either whoever it is, there was something common to all of them: the shovel and the gold. I mean, the shovel and the digger. You know the guys that made the most money during that period? It was the guys producing the shovels and the diggers. Whatever business angle you came from, you will require the shovel and the digger. I want that to sink in. So come to Nigeria of 2024. What is common to everybody in the midst of all of these things that we're doing? What is common? People will eat. No matter how much we cry, people will eat. Fashion is great, but you don't have to look as nicely dressed as the gentleman here.
Oh, thank you.
If you like wear t-shirts, well, you must eat. People will drink water. I'm holding myself not tell you what the specifics are. No matter how bad it is, you guys will still use your phone and call or chat or text. So, in a nutshell, the best answer to that is whatever has the word is not mass appeal, that the masses use the most. That's what I'm going to want to invest in. Because no matter what happens, those things will still be available. And by the way, as bad as things are, some people are still cleaning out. So a simple example, I don't know if you guys heard, tolerant bottle of Guinness. This same economy today, while P&G is running out, Unilever is running, everybody's running out. A local company, well, you might want to call it, they're not really a local company, but they're a local company, is Singaporean, but they're here. The bulk of the money they make it here. And they're using to fund everything across the globe. They've had so much liquidity, well, not liquidity, they're attractive, so it's easy for them to raise funding. But my point, those guys bought Guinness here because of the prospect they see. And how did they make money? There was noodles. Everybody eats noodles. So back to the story. If I'm an investor,
This is getting really interesting.
I want to be a businessman, instead of me following the bandwagon to go and be prospecting for gold, go and register a big company, go and buy a Caterpillar machine, 20 million naira. Just go and be producing shovel and digger. So all of those guys buying excavator and all of them, they will come and buy your shovel and your digger. So bring that to today. What is that shovel and digger you can invest in or be a part of? It's sustainable.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for him, please. Okay, from thinking out of the box, cutting down on costs, collaborations, we are down to shovels and diggers. He who has ear, let him hear. Trust me, he has said a lot with shovel and diggers. We won't push you to say more about the shovel and diggers. We will think about what the shovels and diggers are. I will put money there. I mean, my friend, shovels and diggers. I might not get out of the shovel and digger today. It's already touching my sense, shovel and digger. So, Mr. Ossai is online. Can we do a 2-minute welcome for him, please? Technical team, very fast. Mr. Ossai, Emeka Ossai is online. But a question came from him. He's been fun. Welcome, Mr. Ossai. Please put your hands together for him, please. Welcome, sir. You ran away, you're looking fresh. Okay, so we're supposed to be asking you questions. You asked us a question. We'll take your question, then we'll throw a question back to you very fast. So he said this. He said, what sector of the economy presently is showing the greatest resilience? Don't say shovel and diggers again.
Emeka, I shouldn't be answering questions from you. I should be asking you a question. But okay. I'm ashamed to say the most resilient industry right now is the banking industry. It's a shame, but that's the truth. In a normal environment, if other sectors are struggling, it should reflect in the banking industry. But in our own case, every other person is struggling, while the bankers are going to the bank. Okay, they own the bank. So right now, banking the most industry is the level of regulation that they go through. It's a pain for the bankers, but at the end of the day, they're getting the benefit of it today. They are the most regulated. In fact, Nigerian banks are the most regulated in Africa. We're just probably second to the UK and the US in terms of regulation. So all that that they push Nigerian banks to do is why those banks are making they're surviving the way they're surviving, or they're as resilient as they are now. Again, simple example. When the CBN guy came in and deregulated, current what's valued, when he devalued the currency in 2023, banks made mad money by not doing anything. What the banks simply did was just recalibrated their balances on their books. They scored that in evaluation gains. Some banks made 1 trillion naira in evaluation gain. They didn't do anything. They just followed the central bank's instruction by devaluation, and they made money. Though now the central bank has gone back to say, the money you made that 2023, you pay it back to me for me to do whatever. Why the banks don't really have an issue with doing that? The issue we have is, if we return it to the government, what are you guys going to use that money for? That's always been the issue. So an international organization, when that evaluation happened, we put it in some interesting account, because we've been around for 130 years. We've seen all of this game before. But local banks are big money, they pay dividends. Now that they said bring it back, everybody's scratching their ass. I'm sorry, this is stretch. Everybody's scratching their head, and where are we going to get it from? So now they're practically running around to raise funds to be able to do that. So again, the discipline we said, when you get windfall, don't use all your hand to chop it. So answering Emeka's question directly, the banking industry is the most resilient now, and the reason is because of the level of regulation that the industry goes through. So if I'm going to use a spyglass to say, what should I invest in? Going back to his question, step back. Which other industry is, even if not as regulated, at least close enough in terms of regulation, they tend to survive a bit more. And something comes to head. The telcos, the oil and gas companies, those guys are a bit more regulated, and then they're going to be a lot more sustainable in terms of resilience.
Put your hands together for him, please. Okay, so one more question, please. The mic.
Good morning, sir. Thank you. Okay, so still riding on the question you just answered now, I want to ask you, would regulation make the food industry, the agri sector, do better? And if yes, what kind of regulation should be targeted towards that?
And are they potential shovel and digger?
Sorry, I didn't get it, because I'm sorry.
So the agri industry is a bit more tricky. And why I say that is, the barrier to entry into the agri industry is almost zero, unless you're doing mechanized. Everybody, I just remember that first lady that said, plant. It was very interesting. When the first lady came out, and I mean, she meant well. Said, look, everybody, go and start planting vegetable at the back of your house. And then she came, planted vegetable, and then a week after, all the vegetables they've grown and they're maturing. I'm not sure where they got those seeds from. But my point, the barrier to entry for agri is almost non-existent. And that makes it difficult to regulate. I mean, everybody can be a farmer. You don't need, so the bigger ones or the larger farmers, yes, you might be able to regulate those ones, but what are you regulating them for? They won't collapse the economy if they don't do well. If banks don't do well, they can collapse the economy. In fact, there are 8 banks, they call them systemically important bank in Nigeria. If anything happens to any of them, government comes in and steps in. Because the government doesn't do that, there's something called the contagion effect. If one of them goes down, it affects the industry. And if your financial industry struggles, somehow it affects the rest of us. So to answer your question directly, I think it might be a bit off to regulate the agric industry because everybody's a farmer. I mean, how are you going to regulate 200 million people? But there are 80 banks. The government can hold them by their job to say, do this, do this, do this. If you don't do it, I'm going to punish you. There are 5 telcos. You can hold them. There are, at best, IOCs, maybe 10. Local operators, another 10. They can hold them because of the numbers. It might be a bit difficult to hold the guys in the agric sector. So, yeah, it might be difficult to regulate them. Having said that, even if you cannot regulate them, you can support them through subsidy. That's the way government regulates the industry, through their fertilizer subsidy. If you provide more fertilizer, you get better, more people producing and planting, and then we get better returns. If you don't provide enough fertilizer, that's their own form of regulation. It's not, I don't think it's efficient, frankly. But that's what they've done.
I'm a little confused about this agric business as a whole, because on one side, everybody says we can grow our own food and we should be self-sufficient with food. And on the other side, you just said that the entry into agric is really zero. Anybody can come into it. What, in your perspective, is exactly right and wrong with this agric business, and why are we struggling, especially having this generation of people interested in agric?
To have food security as a nation, we can use subsistence farming to do it. And subsistence farming is what all of us are doing. Everybody grow pepper out and it grows. That will only feed you and maybe your man. But that's not going to take Nigeria out of the wood we found ourselves in. To be able to have food security, it has to be done at a national level, at scale, and that government has to drive. One of the things that makes that happen is something I've alluded to earlier. The fertilizer is a big deal. Appropriate seedling is a big deal. But for all of those things to happen, government also has to, it's all about body language. What kind of policies are we putting in place to make this happen? Who remembers when Additional was Minister of Agriculture in Nigeria, there was some direction that sector was taking because there was a man that had a vision and he had a holistic view. He was tackling seedlings, was tackling fertilizers, was tackling funding. So even if it's just 1,000 people or 1,000 businesses that we have to say, look, guys, this is what we need to do for you. Whatever you need to give us food security as a nation, we'll do it for you. And the man will focus on doing that. And that was happening. But as soon as he left, I think politics came on and everybody was working on something else. So to answer Pastor's question directly, we have to be deliberate to say, look, we want to be food sufficient. And these are the guys that will do it for us. Worst case scenario, even if it means in every state have an agricultural settlement or a farming settlement, and don't do mouth whatever, pack it with funding. In your budget, it needs to be there. In your policy statement, it needs to be there. And then body language. If the president shows us body language that he wants to support, I agree. You'll be amazed at how everybody's going to follow it. So his body language, you know what the Bible says, the oil drop from the head of Aaron to his beard to the hem of his garment. Is the way he walks all over the world. And by the way, there's subsidy all over the world. Don't buy that thing. We were subsidizing fuel in Nigeria. They subsidize agriculture in the US. Big time. Focus. We just need to pick apart to that.
Thank you very much. Put your hands together again for him, please. Very last question, anybody? Very last question for this first service. Okay, so we have the last question for him. Quick, the mic, please. All right, before you get back, I'm here.
Good morning, sir. How do you deal with pricing in the midst of an exchange rate without hurting your customer? I'm very emotional towards my customer. I don't like selling something to you 300K. Price has gone up and I have to change it. I don't like it. So how do you control that?
Good question. Good question.
I will not say anything. You are emotional. Sorry. Question to you, sir.
That's a deep question. I need to think. Look, there are two ways. Again, I like to use examples. He sticks more in your head. It's also why Jesus likes to tell a lot of stories. By the way, I hope I don't forget. I want to address your collaboration story, but let me talk about the pricing one first. There's something they call price elasticity. There's so much your customers can take if you keep increasing the price. After a while, they either go to competition or they go to other products, which is where we're getting to in terms of this fuel price. I mean, fuel price moved from 180, 180, and we used to buy petrol at 180 naira. Good God.
Even less.
And then it moved to 480, it moved to 650. Now I bought 1,000 naira because they think we don't have an option. But the more they keep doing that, eventually, if they keep going along that trajectory, people are going to begin to diversify or divert into something else. And that becomes a problem for the Nigerian government. I hope they're thinking about that. So how are companies dealing with that price elasticity? So you ask yourself, my target market, if I continue to increase price, one, can they absorb it? Can they continue to absorb it? Do they have an alternative? If the answer to your second question is, do they have an alternative? If you answer yes, then you have to take a call. Do I want to push them over the cliff? Because once people move on, they've moved on. But once when people are fighting you, you should be happy. When your customers are fighting you, you should be happy. It means they are invested in that business. That's why they are fighting you. They want you to change. But what are the multinationals doing? Because they've also realized that there's price elasticity, they can't keep increasing price. So what are they doing? They are reducing content and quantity. Check your chin-chin or those things. The pack will be big, but when you open it, whatever is inside is smaller. How am I doing this far? Sardine used to be 3 or 4. When last did anybody buy sardine here? It's half that's inside, or 1, because they can't keep increasing the price. So they're reducing the content. So if you have control over the content of whatever you're manufacturing, yes, you can control price, but for an IT person, it might be a bit difficult. So you just have to see yourself, how else do I cut my expenses to maintain my profit? Because there's price elasticity, you can't keep passing it on. After a while, people are going to move on. Because now, look at telcos. You'd be amazed. We thought we can't survive without data. People are finding some way around it. Because there's so much that we're all taking on. It's so much. So I hope I found a way to answer. It's a deep question. We all need to think about it. But for a manufacturing person, reduce content because of price elasticity. But for a service person, you have to find some other ways to cut your cost to maintain your profitability because your customers cannot keep taking it. I think that's something we need to think about. On collaboration, I was going to come back to you. You mentioned something around cost cutting. Across Nigeria, there are SME ops. I think they have one in Ibadan. I know about Ota. I know about Lagos. When I used to work in Ibadan, I know they have one in Songo. I don't know if they still have it there. Those SME hubs, government, sub stores or where people can do. What am I talking about? It's not called Yagonku. What's that place called now? Yeah, it's close to opposite Afebabala's, whatever. There's a manufacturing hub there. Rent is cheaper. They provide ATC, yes, thank you. NTC is a manufacturing hub. Rent is cheaper there. There's some collaborative power generation, stuff like that. Anything that's going to help you to cut your cost is something we all need to begin to think about now. So rather than me going to find a place in Jericho or in Dubai, why can't we go to NTC? Because it is set up for stuff like that. A lot of people are manufacturing. There's aggregate power there. So your cost of electricity hopefully is reduced or something like that. So those are the kind of things you need to begin to look at because the government also knows that these are the issues. That's why they set up stuff like that. So in terms of collaboration, those are the kind of places you should begin to identify and then helps you to cut down your costs as well.
Thank you very much, sir.
We couldn't hear
Let's get up for
Mr.
him.
We couldn't
Mr.
hear
Ossai.
we couldn't hear Mr. Ossai's audio. His
Yeah.
audio, then maybe can make a comment or two. We're going to play Mr. Ossai's video during the coffee break. So while the coffee break is going on, and we're going to put on the generator. We're going to put on AC for you today. Compliments of the anniversary committee, but I'm counting cost, as you know, because I'm thinking, why did they need it? Because that's why waste that money. But we're going to put it on anyway. It's our anniversary. So, Mr. Ossai, can we hear his audio? Maybe he can make a comment or two, and then we can close. Can we put Mr. Ossai up? And then after that, we'll take a coffee break. But while the coffee break is on, we'll play Mr. Ossai's video. And then after Mr. Ossai's video, we'll do praise and worship and then come back for session 2. There'll be a short Q&A session, very short, and then Mr. Akarah can come and take it home. All right? Emeka, can you see? We can't hear him. He's muted.
Technical check your system is muted.
That's why I got him to record his message. Emeka, your mic is off. It's from our side. Okay. You have to unmute his mic. Uncle Kutilo.
So while we wait for the technical team to get back, we're running out of time. I would like to also bit about what my brother talked about, which is the price elasticity when it comes to
Can you hear me?
change in cost of
Hello?
production. I'm the one you're hearing. Okay.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Mr. Emeka is here. Welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Pastor. Good to see you, Mr. Akarah. Very interesting conversation. And it's good to see everyone. And thank you. And it's a very timely conversation. So because I know how time is, so real quick. First thing I know from this whole conversation is knowledge is very critical to be resilient. And one big factor we've all seen is conversations on macroeconomics. So for everyone, if we don't like economics, we have to somehow try, and go and, understand. It's my favorite topic in business school, but one thing, when they say they cut rates by 50 basis points, or, at some point, I think CBN rates were 30%. So what does that mean for my business? What does that mean in terms of access to credit? What does that mean to the alternative lenders that will be out there? And with that kind of knowledge, what I realize is that people with more knowledge in business are able to navigate because they have more understanding of how the terrain really, really is. It's funny that Mr. Akarah talked about price elasticity of demand, because I'm playing this simulation right now where I'm CEO of a group, it's called of Velocity Wheels. And I just even still did a simulation 2 days ago on price elasticity of demand. So when he said that, I was like, oh my God, he took the words out of my mouth. And one thing that we did critically, had to make a decision as CEO was there were 2 brands of coffee. One went from $10, $5 in the supplier, it went up to $6, and the other one went from 15 to 20. And then there's like a whole formula for calculating. And one thing was clear. At the end of the day, we just had to discontinue one product. And in being emotional to the consumer, but really money is almost not, it's not emotional. Some products may have to be discontinued in serving a consumer, because at the end of the day, what happens is that it's actually really killing the company. It's just because it's going to really, really go under. Thirdly, I'll just say is, especially to the young people, For the person who has the energy, we're talking about operation. I think it's echoing for me. I don't know why. If there's somebody who can go, because as Christians, we are the light. Yes, we can complain, but, as I said, which we'll see in the video, there are things we don't have control over. Who is that person that can be an agent on behalf of SMEs and businesses around, the business clusters, and be able to put maybe some of the fashion designers in one place to be able to do shared production facility? Who's that person that can be an advocate in terms of like policy and revive some of these small parks? I know we have a very interesting group of leaders, but that being said, who can rally people around a shared facility for people to be able to run production? Really, I think I remember Mr. Pakwetisi was trying to do something around that. So those three things I've seen are like the common themes in this whole dimension. And when we look at the scriptures, there's always been tough economic times, from what we see with the popular story with Joseph, we see also in the book of Daniel, and, continuously. And how do we navigate those times? But without knowledge, and I think Pastor is somebody who always shares information and, knowledge, right? How do we leverage some of this available information to be able to navigate these times? And the truth is that some businesses, it may be very rough, because the ability, to withstand the shocks, that can come with this whole currency devaluation will be very, very tough. But proper understanding, good knowledge, will see what the banks did. But if you don't know that this is coming up, there's no way you'll be able to prepare yourself to really navigate these very tough times. But I think in second service, I'll say, because I know that time is fast spent. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ossai. Okay.
Good. Let's thank him because he's up at midnight or something. He's 9 hours behind. Let's really appreciate him also. Let's do that. Again, let's thank Mr. Akarah for that wonderful. I think we have more than enough to chew on, especially those of you who are looking for cutlasses and shovels and diggers. I think we all need to go back and go apply that. And then, of course, the fact that we need to cut down on cost. And we're already doing it. People are suffering in first service so that we can cut down on cost of diesel in the second service. So let's do that. And let's thank Mr. Alere as well. We're going to take a short coffee break. While the coffee break is going on, please, I'm instructing the media team, and somebody should please help me say it in Yoruba to them, that they should play Mr. Ossai's video. Just play it in the background so that we can listen while we have our coffee. It's about 21 minutes long, so we need to make it very quick so that we can get into the network service. Thank you all for being here and for coming early. This is strange to me that you will get here on time. You must really have issues with economic resilience. Praise the Lord. So it's good to see you. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Quick one, we'll take our offering sharply. Ushers, let's go around and take our offering. You'll know when you give, it will multiply. I don't really need to cajole you about that. Giving is one, in fact, if you ask me, giving is one of the quality of a resilient Christian. You don't want to care about what is going on in the economy, you still give. And when you give, trust me, the promises of God, you will get it. So let's give our offering very quick. The coffee break, Dex is ready. We'll take our coffee break, light music from the choir. Okay, we might have to take that down from the choir while Pastor said I should tell the technical team in Yoruba, Pastor Sokwe, ke play. No, Pastor Sokwe, ke play. Mr. Ossai's video nísinsìnyí wọ́n ní kẹ́ fọ́nrán kẹ́ play. God bless you all. Thank you so much for coming. Hold your thoughts. Second service will continue. 10 minutes break, please. Thank you.
I think at the time, I just always wanted to start something. And I realized that there was an absence of programming for young people with a specific focus on universities. And I also realized that a lot of my friends who had left school who were already in corporate and were working somehow kind of felt like they wish they had more guidance and understanding of, preparing for life after school. I realized they were not happy in their jobs, and I thought, like, okay, why don't I create programming that could connect young people to the knowledge, the resources, and the networks that they need for life after school. I just started like an adventure in really my final year, and little did I know that I would take it up as a career. I just wanted something that would connect the young people to what they needed to know, so that they won't leave school and be all, looking like, they were lost. So that's what actually really inspired me to start. Yes, because every economy that is successful, if you look at the economies that have grown in the past, 20, 30 years, even the history of economics is built on the skill sets of, the people. And since Nigeria has a big population of young people, under the age of 30, 25. First, they have these skill sets, right, to be able to identify problems in the environment, and they'll be able to build solutions. And what that happens is that you're able to create jobs, right? We see what has happened in the areas of like fintech with what young people are doing, bringing attention. So empowering young people really just builds a stronger economy. It gives us a broader base, for an economy that works for all and that is insulated from global shocks of like oil prices. Because if we are dependent on just oil, then what happens is the economy becomes very challenging, and any external shocks, we are in a lot of trouble. Oh, and I'm using my networks in the US. That's in the summer, I was able to talk with my university here and get some funding to come to Nigeria and run a startup acceleration program, right? And for me, every day, what keeps me up at night is how do we create opportunities for young people in Nigeria? How do we take the abundant resources here in the US? And that's what I do, trying to build a business case. Even earlier today, what we're doing now is doing like bridge consulting. So you have us here in the US, so we're connecting to the young people in Nigeria and spending time with them to understand, what kind of problem they're solving and how they can help. And that thing as well also is in another conversation that, we're currently looking at is how do we get a lot of our young people who are working on startups solving problems, in our universities to be able to spend some time, in New York, So there are a lot of conversations going on. We are connecting some of the technical support from here in the US to the young people in Nigeria and having conversations on how to navigate, the problem and the solution they're actually really solving. And so those things are what we do every day. I work at an incubator, as well. And we are also having like days where we can have our young people just connect, via Zoom and have like a peer mentor here who's maybe working on something similar, and then just peer mentoring and conversations, and as well having somebody who's much more senior look at them, spend time with them, and helping them refine the idea, and maybe possibly making some investments in some of these ideas, really as well. Because what might be chicken change in the US, it's a lot of money, in Nigeria. So those conversations are currently really happening. Another thing that's going on is how do we build spaces, innovation spaces for our young people, and how do we get US investors to like back conversations like this and invest in this? And there's pretty strong interest in this But one critical example is what happened last summer, working with 15 university founders and, giving something for them to be able to work on. So that I see has been very profound and very rewarding. And then we hope to be able to scale that on a very large, magnanimous scale. God help us. But I think I did mention, maybe a little bit of it earlier. There's no, I was talking to some professor who came here from Nigeria in the 70s to study here, and we're just talking about how nations were prosperous. You look
name of Jesus. Jesus. Somebody praise Jesus. Come on, let there be some excitement in the house. Somebody praise Jesus. Come on, lift those hands, lift those hands. Somebody praise Jesus. Somebody praise Jesus. We just want to give God praise this morning. He's been wonderful. He's been faithful and he's been gracious. And we just want to say thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah.